Hello and welcome. I am your host, Taryn Tarver, and we are here with Supernatural Lifeline Revelation Encounters. Today we have such an amazing platform for you because we're going to be talking about a wake-up call for men. But before we get going and I introduce this awesome team, we are going to take a quick look at this short video.
I'm so excited about this men's wake-up call. Finally, a forum where men could come and ask all of the questions that they never had the answers to. Think about it. We have fathers who are authors, but they're not finishers, simply because they don't see the seed, the child, all the way through.
Right, and as a result of that, a lot of times we've seen little boys grow up without a father and they become grown boys and they've never seen the image, so they don't even know how to operate.
And simply, one of the biggest misconceptions is just because a father is in the home, it doesn't mean that you're being fathered. If this father doesn't know what it means to be a father, then you have an abandoned child with a father present.
Right. So the mission of the men's wake-up call is to restore the image and identify the power and the purpose as a leader and a father here on earth.
Please come out and let's have an honest conversation on what it means to be a father.
Wow, I love this topic. It touches so close to home. Just being a daddy's girl and have been raised with my father my entire life, I know the importance of a father, as well as knowing the importance of as God is our father. And that image can be distorted if we don't really understand the real purpose of men in our life, why they're here, and what they should be doing now in the year 2000 and 2019 in particular. I have an amazing woman here with me, Lena Anthony. Lena, I really am so excited that you're here with us today because you put together this platform for purpose. Not only are you an author and a mother, a wife, a woman of God, you are a woman with vision. You are an actress, TV host, and a producer.
Keep going.
Exactly. This is great. This is what we need. But to see a woman come together, understand the importance of a man and why men are important in this day and age, especially when there's such an attack on them, you have brought together this awesome panel, and I would love for you to introduce, because you are the founder of Platform for Purpose, and we have this upcoming seminar.
It's an empowerment panel.
Empowerment panel. And I would love for you to introduce our guests today so that we can actually get to know them. We're going to have a discussion, open discussion today about men.
Okay. So Platform for Purpose is an organization founded both by me and my husband, Ty Anthony, who is also an amazing actor, husband, father, leader, and we partnered this year with Celebration of Love, who was founded by Van Brown, who is an author, speaker. He has a new book coming out called Love Intentionally versus Love Systems. And then his beautiful fiance, Lita Robinson, who is a wealth creator.
I like that.
Yes, he's a poet as well. He's an actor as well. So we wanted to, last year we've done a lot, Platform for Purpose have done a lot of different events and panels, and we wanted to just come together because his organization is also like, it's all about purpose. It's all about just change and empowering people to come together. It's all about unity. So we figured we will come together this year and do this men's wake-up call because I feel like there are a lot of men just out here and they don't really know their real purpose, or they're like you said, their image is distorted. So honestly, this empowerment panel was given to me by God.
Yes.
And he told me that because I've done so many women empowerment panels, God said there needs to be something for men.
Yes.
So, and he literally gave me the title. It's a men's wake-up call. And the purpose for this men's wake-up call is to restore the identity of men so that they can now walk in their purpose, walk in their power, and walk in who they really are as a father and a leader, because that is who God created them to be. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, once again, like I said, I am the only daughter to my father, and I have 5 brothers. and he was there every step of the way and went over and beyond the call of duty. So for me, when I see people who haven't grown up with a father, and I'm always trying to extend mine to someone because he's such a teacher and a leader, and men are so empowering. And I think I want to just draw on Van's experience because, I watched a documentary on elephants, and they said that adolescents were out of control. And they say elephants are all about family and structure and organization. And so what they did is they had these adolescents that were tearing up everything. They brought in 2 males that were older, and immediately the younger ones lined up, and it was really something for them to see because they understood structure and family. Where do you feel the families have broken down, and how do you feel like what can we do to begin to get back on track and trying to show men once again what it means to be a man, and how we can structure family, and what to look for in a man, and what they can have a target goal to become?
Right. This is the most important topic on earth. When you look at everything that's plaguing society, the seed of it stems from the absentee of the missing father. When the father is, statistically, when a father is not present, the chance of the child having mental illness, addictions, grows up to like 40%. Just from the father being absent. We all know the father literally provides the structure. If we're speaking biblically for a second, we know that God placed Adam in Eden. Eden is simply structure. The garden is all about order. So we were made to live in order. And the father represents that order. He is the protector. What is the definition of father? It simply means source, sustainer, provider, and progenitor. So it means that he sustains everything that's underneath his care. But the problem is men don't know what the definition of father is. We think that we're husbands, or we're the romantic interest, meaning I come home, I'm sexy, I provide the groceries, but there's no mental stimulation. There's no vision of where we're going. I will even argue, even before the child is even produced, before you even step to a lady and you said, I would like your hand in marriage, you're supposed to have a vision for your family.
Yes.
So
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because this is where, people perish for lack of vision.
Right.
And when a man has a vision, the woman comes along and she's able to help him carry this vision out.
Right.
And that's what we're designed to do.
Right.
And I love what you're saying. I actually got to see you on a panel, and I was blown away. I mean, 100 million kudos for the panel discussion you guys had, and the couples you brought together, and the talk. It transformed my life. I'm supposed to be there learning, and I was taping and filming because I'm writing notes. I have 10 pages of notes. Because I counsel a lot of people, and I say, if you don't have the deposit, if you don't have a download, if you just got a brand new phone, you have to download the app.
Right.
We're downloading information, and if you don't have a deposit, you don't have a withdrawal that you can take it from. So I have a ton of men recently, and we were in a discussion, and I said, tell me, what is your God-given role as a husband? Because all of them said they wanted to be married. Do you know none of them knew, except for protector and provider, and they didn't know what that meant or how to bring together. They didn't have conflict resolution skills. It was like, how do we be problem solvers in a situation where there's conflict in a relationship? What does training up a child mean? And so this is one of the things I heard in the discussion, Mr. Todd Anthony, is when you were looking for this beautiful, awesome woman of God, that you loved the way that she was a mother, and that attracted you to her. And so you actually had to have known that this is something that's important to you. So when we're looking for this, how do men know what they're supposed to be doing? Like, can you just talk about that? Even Lita, if you want to jump in, open forum discussion. How do we know to train these things? How do we bring this to the forefront so that someone knows, hey, I got to have this. Get some kind of checklist going, or vision, or deposit.
If I am supposed to, we have to get back to the foundation. When we talk to our little boys, we talk to them as little boys. It is incorrect. You have to talk to them as a father in training, because in every seed of the little boy is a father. And I'm not talking about a biological father. I'm talking about the way he's supposed to protect the earth. He protects it from a spirit of fathership. She protects the earth from a spirit of mothership.
Yes.
What does that mean? It means that from a little boy, the father, this little boy has to see the example of a father. If he doesn't see his father getting up early morning and praying and covering the family, if he doesn't see the father reading, everything I'm reading is supposed to affect him, which will affect the next generation. But if I'm just reading just to occupy my time, then everything I'm reading is incorrect. I'm supposed to think generationally, meaning as a father, I can't think about myself. What is my self-enjoyment? No. If the contents of this book that I'm reading, I can't pass it on to him and then him to his child, then I shouldn't be reading it at all. Wow. It has to be that simple. But if the father doesn't know these things, then, so the first thing we have to do is we have to get back to what is the mandate and the role of a father. Not a biological seed, because every man is a father, whether they believe it or not.
I love that.
Just to piggyback off of that,
Go ahead.
in our situation, my bonus son, if you will, you know, he's not my biological son, but at the end of the day,
Right.
I'm still his father.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has a biological father who's there,
Right.
and he has me as well.
Right.
But it's still my job
Right.
to implement in him the things that are going to sustain him
Right.
Yeah.
through teenage years, through his 20s, through his 30s, and I always, unfortunately, he has it hard. But at the end of the day, like Van said, the knowledge that I gain, you know, people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. So if I don't have knowledge, I don't have anything to pass to him. Therefore, the next generation is destroyed because of what we didn't do, what the fathers before them didn't do.
Right.
So.
I really like what you said there because when I had I never referred to him as stepson because I just parented. There was no way I could be a step parent. I was just a parent. And even after I went through divorce, like, I mean, I was just with all the boys the other day. I remained a person in his life and was impactful. So I think of your role, or the role that I had, is something like with Joseph. Joseph was he protected them. God said, go to Egypt. He took them to Egypt. And I really think that women who are mothers with children really need to understand when they're selecting a man, he needs to understand that this is very important because he spoke to the woman and he says to her, you know, this is my plan. She says, be it done to me as you have spoken. After that, the Lord does not speak to her about the direction of that child and when the protection and where he was to go. God spoke to the man. He didn't say, oh, this isn't your father. God selected him to be the father. It was actually him that it was supposed to come through all the line all the time. Because when you see the genealogy in Matthew, you can see it comes down to the man. It's very important who the man was that was going to be in his life, that raised him to be a carpenter, that passed on his own trade to him. And I think that people have kind of gotten lost with passing down family trade and training children up in a direction. For myself, all five of my brothers and myself, we became athletes. But my dad was in the NFL when I was born. That's what we saw. He had us doing sports, and he gave us education. And so it wasn't if we were going to college. The talk in the house was, where are you going to college? And all of us knew we weren't paying for college because my father paid it forward for us. And that's what I see with you, and that's what I was doing with the children. Now my daughter is in college doing the same thing. So it's been generationally passed down from the father. But he's the patriarch of our family. He walks in the room. I can be talking to my mother, kind of talking back, but my father walked in the room. It was like, there was a respect. And so that's what I really love. Lita, I was just thinking, like, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. What would you say about men in finance and the role that's important in the household, and how men and women, when they come together, can actually work together to leave an inheritance to their children's children.
What a great question. I wanted to first kind of piggyback on what they were saying because I'm the youngest of 10, and my father passed away 6 months after I was born.
Wow.
And so my mom, being a widow, she raised all 10 of us by herself. And so when I first met Van, the first thing that attracted me to him was his nurturing spirit. You know, he would always make sure I made it home safe. You know, he would do father-like things that I wasn't used to because I never had a father in my life. And so I found later on that it was so important to, you know, identify that and notice that, because it was before we, you know, entered to a romantic relationship. I was very grateful that I got to experience, you know, him almost being like a father to me. And so one of the things that I would say financially is identifying the roles, because things have changed a lot now. Before, it used to be where men used to go out and work and the woman used to stay home, and now it's kind of like a mixture of both, or the opposite. And so financially, a lot of times it's just coming to an understanding, you know, of who's going to do what. Are we going to share things? Are we going to, you know, are you going to take care of this and I'm going to take care of the household? Or, you know, just an understand. I find that a lot of couples don't come together and actually talk about it. There's sometimes, I've been in the financial industry for 11 years, and there's times that I've sat down with couples and they're like, can we do our finances separately? Wow. You know, or I've sat down with couples and they're like, well, he doesn't know I have this account, you know, or I have this much in debt. And so things like that, just having open communication and understanding, because most of the time we're not taught those things.
Right.
So coming together, you know, two heads is better than one,
Right.
obviously, but coming together and being able to be open and talk about it and learning what's best for your family. And like Van said, having a vision, that helps, you know.
I really love some things that you said there, because I've really been really pressing especially people of color, to have insurance policies, getting them on your children right when they're born, and not waiting, and then giving them something to look forward to. Because, you know, I've had a lot of friends from the Jewish community. They have started mentoring me on what they do to empower their children with wealth. They're raised with the knowledge of wealth. And I feel that we've really kind of, I mean, you see young kids wanting the latest sneakers and Jordans and iPhones, and it's like, let's invest that in a business, or being an entrepreneur and what that looks like. And just because you're the first person in your family, you can break the mold and become that, you know. With the absence of men in the household, what would you say, Lena, is the like one or two important things that a young man could look for with men that aren't there? What do you think that they're looking for? Because I see young men going to gangs. You see young men going to all these other things. They're learning how to, from, you know, music videos, how to treat women, and they're watching TV, and social media is raising the children.
Yes.
So how do we give them to launch higher, look for more? What is the vision? Because you came up with the vision that God gave you, you and your husband. What is it that we can do to really change that and give them something to look forward to and give them a higher goal?
That's such a beautiful question, because when God said men's wake-up call, I was like, okay, what does that mean, men's wake-up call? And then he literally showed me so many different men who just had this lost identity. You know, there are so many men. I'm from Philadelphia, so there are so many men, like you said, on the corner selling drugs, or just don't have a job, or going from prison to prison. So there are so many lost kids because of the identity of their fathers that's lost, you know? So now we have these children who's raised by only women, and so now their identity is either lost in confusing mindsets of they don't know what their identity is, whether I'm a boy who like another boy, or if I'm a boy who's very, like, I don't want to say soft, or just very like feminine, or I'm a boy who's just trying to figure out life, like, you know, like the mama's boys or whatever. It's just like they're so confused, they don't really know. So me as a mom, you know, I've been married before my new husband now. So when I went through the time of, you know, being a single mom and just having to raise a boy, it was like, okay, God, what do? I want to make sure I give my son the necessary skills that he needs, even though I'm not a man. Yes. So what does that look like? Let me make sure I show him different men role models. Let me make sure. Beautiful. Yeah, because I'm not a man. I can't show you what a man can do, but I can show you men role models. I can show you what you should look to aspire to be. I can show you different images of great men, of leaders, because I know that I'm a very powerful woman, and I know that I'm very strong. So I want to make sure I show my son strength. Yes. I want to make sure I show my son success. Yes. And, you know, so because I want him to take that on, and when he get older, he can hone those things, and now he can pass that down to his kids.
So you know what I did? I'm glad we're bringing up single parents, because we're talking about, you know, we've talked about marriage, we've talked about divorce, we've talked about the young ones coming up, we've talked about mid-age, which we're going to go into mid-age too, because that in itself is a whole nother identity that men have to find themselves too. As a mother, as a young mother, I found myself my sons, I needed to give them that same image, and I would bring them around my father, I would bring them around my brothers, but I looked on the internet and said, what are things that boys need to know? And I got 50 things, a list of 50 things that men needed to know. Like, you know what, I'm going to tell you this as a mother, I go to the bathroom, we go to the restroom, we sit down. I would never know that the boys are not supposed to pull their pants down, you know, until another man came and showed me. But as a woman, I'm not thinking of these things. And then we've done a great job with single mothers, but we have got to get men in the children's lives to teach them these things: how to tie a tie, how to fish, or go ride, you know, they're riding bikes, or even I said to my sons, I said, so you want to do MMA? Let's go do MMA. You have to learn how to box. I'm sorry, you do. Yeah. You know, you have to know these things. These are skills in this household we have to have. You know, getting yard work and being able. My dad took him out there and had him cutting trees, and we were hauling the trees, and we had to go to the dump. You know, and I loved it because they have to have these experiences. Yeah. You know, you look like you're on the edge of your seat. What are you going to say then? Like, come on, tell. I mean, this is such good conversation, because this is what needs to happen, because there's some women out there looking right now saying, what do I do? You know?
I just want to say, I think for whether you're a single mom or whether you're a mother who's married,
widowed
there is no
mother.
Excuse on how to raise a young man. There's no excuse. You can find, I mean, we don't want to go to the internet, but like you said, there is so many different things that the internet can teach you. Like, I remember sitting my son down one day and just showing him different black heroes, different black men. These are leaders, and I want you to be like these men. I want you to have a legacy. We're still talking about these men today because of how they impacted the world. You know, like, and just to me, it's just no excuse. You know, like for women and for boys and girls, you know, when they're young, they experiment. They try different things. I remember my son being 3 or 4, and I think his father wasn't around, and he tried on my high heels. But as a kid, as a child, he don't know. He's just seeing what's around, you know? And then communication is key. So in order to change that or shift that, you just communicate with your child, okay, this is for women.
And I love that you're saying this, too, because I had the same experience where I took my son one time to the nail spot, and then he jumped up and put his. I said, "Never again. We're not going to the nail spot."
But
and I had to do that, and it was, and I had to realize this is not an environment for my son, and it's not conducive for him. And I had to show him what environments, you know, what we're defining who he is as a young man, whether we like it or not.
I just want to say something.
Just go ahead, jump in, everybody.
Quick, we can't negate love, though, because a lot of times with these young boys.
Go ahead.
Oh, a lot of times with these young boys, they don't know. So we can't, like, oh, this is for women and only women. No, you really have to show that love and that nurture. So it's not that boys are soft or you know what I mean? Like, you just don't want to, like, separate them, because being a father and being a leader is showing love.
Very true.
It's showing love, and they don't have love, and they can't be a successful father.
am going to come back to this because we're going to jump to our second segment because the talking does not stop here. The wake-up call is totally, we're awakening everyone at this moment. We're talking about these great topics, and right when we come back on our next show, we have Van Brown that's going to talk about exactly what we're leaving with the image of young men and little boys. So I am your host today, and we are here with Platform for Purpose. You definitely want to come out on March 23rd. You can go register at Eventbrite, as well as it's our men's wake-up call, Platform for Purpose with Lena Anthony, and we want to make sure that you are connected, and it is coming up on the 3rd of March. So I am TNT, your host. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to continue this conversation, so join us next week. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching Supernatural Lifeline Revelations.